Super. Hey everyone, welcome to Build It. We're hacking with Phil again for the 8th time. Phil, you got the Holochain shirt there.
Yep, made it myself.
Yeah, exactly. Got the kit. What have you got to show us today?
Right, so today we'll have a look at some of the changes that have happened in Holochain. So there's now a new packaging system and a different way to install things. And you can now there's some more properties that you can do when you install stuff. And I'm also going to show you how to join, or a method I made for inviting people to join you with onto your DNAs. So first of all, let's have a look at the thing. So what I've got here is this concept of like organization. So as a consultant, designer, developer, etc., you work for different clients, right? And those clients will have different sets of projects and things like that. Plus, if you're like me, you've got your own personal projects. So when you first start up Builder, it'll create you this like default personal organization, which has Builder and the developer tools and the Kanban in it. And that's what I've got here. So I'll just show you mine. So here we've got some, the Kanban tool that I showed you previously. I'm just going to get rid of these things here. Here we go. Cool. And reduce that. Right. So you can see here, I've got some different projects, my Harley and my car. And if I click on the Harley, you see I've got 4. Oh, look, that's gone off the page. It's a little bit annoying. So if we go and click this button here now, so now I've made it, because I noticed that a lot of Kanban tools like Trello, they go off the page really, and they have all these weird like kind of ways they do columns, and it was annoying for me. So what I thought was, well, typically you'll have 3, right? You have like, backlog, work in progress, and done. Sometimes you have an extra one. So, maybe I have an extra one, like, just crazy ideas that I'm going to do with my bike. And you'll notice that these are not in the correct order that I'd like them in. So what I can do is rearrange them. So I've got ideas there, I can put backlog there, work in progress, and then done. And then if I get back in here, yeah, they're in the right order now. So ideas, backlog, work in progress. So that's my personal organization with my own projects in it, right? Now what I can do is go back to organizations. And so what happened was, when I created that personal, organization, a few things were done in the background. So if we go and look in the code, some of the code that was created. So here's my builder organizations. You'll see I've got personal and one called Holochain. In each of them, we've got this thing called an invite package, which is a gzip file. And inside there is this thing called a dna.hap. And that is now the bundled set of DNAs that are working for my on the application. And there's org details, which is all this stuff here. So what I can do now is I can use that to invite people to your organization. So when I created the Holochain one, so we can have a look in here, and this is a completely separate organization. And so we've got things like, so these are some of the things I've been working on, personal organization, invite, etc. And that's the Kanban as you know it. What happened was, when I did that like create organization, which is hitting this button here and filling it out, did a similar thing to the personal one. So here we've got Holochain, and there's the invite package. And what happened was that invite package is created so that I can actually create myself in the first place. And what it is, this dna.hap comes from the new packaging tool that we have inside for Holochain. There's now a new binary. Instead of using the DNA util, which is what we used to package up the code for your DNAs, we use this one called HC now, and you can go HC DNA pack and tell it which ones you want to pack. And what it will do is it will use this DNA file to create you a new DNA file. So these two here, build a Kanban DNA and DNA.
Yep.
It used to be dna.gz, just straight up DNA now, which I actually prefer. And now that we've got this DNA file, the dna.yaml file, you can specify things in here. Like what I've been using is this UID, so that each time I create a new organization, I put in the like a new UID in there, so that I create a unique cell ID. So what that does, I'll show you down. If we go and look in the developer tools in here and application, what happens is that for each organization, see, you've got a UUID, you get a new set of cells. So for this one here, so these three together, so that's the new agent key that was generated when I created this organization. And here's my new cell ID for the Kanban and one for Tagger. And there's also, I'll just make this a bit bigger so you can see, there's another one here. I don't know which one's which because they're just UUIDs, but one of them is the personal one and one of them is the Holochain. And again, it's got the pub key, and the Tagger and Kanban cell IDs.
Yep.
So if we look at this one here, even though the code is exactly the same, right, it's identical code, because I changed the UUID here, when it was generated, it generates two completely different cell IDs. So this one ends in VVU and this one ends in 9ZHR. That means that I can call them into that they're running separately and they're completely independent operating applications. And the advantage of that is that then you can specify, so if you look at here, you've got the current organization ID. So that looks like it was Holochain because that's the last one we're in. If I click on to personal here, you'll see that'll update. And now that's using this set of cells to interact with Holochain. And if I go back to organizations and click on Holochain, that'll change again. And now we're using the other set of cells. So when I call from the UI, because when you do zone calls, you pass in the cell ID and the agent ID, it knows exactly which one to talk to. So that was one major thing I got done, was being able to separate that. And we couldn't actually do that on the version before because you couldn't, it was difficult to add in these different properties and things. So now what I've got is this ability to have multiple organizations, all completely separate running applications.
Yep.
Cool. So the next thing is, how do we invite people? So what I want to do is I would like you, David, to be able to do the same thing. So what I'm going to do is show you here what would happen is that you download, you'll get Builder and run it, and then it'll generate you a personal organization, and then I'll invite you to Holochain. And this is all running networked and stuff like this. The reason I'm doing it on one laptop is because it's easier to do demos, but this works across networks and stuff like that. So
okay, amazing.
And the reason that works is because we now have proxy and a bootstrap service. So the bootstrap service allows one conductor to find out who else has got the same cell IDs and who I should be talking to. Right, demo time, demo gods, here we go. Right, so I've actually run it up in the background. So this is my second agent running. You can see it's running on a separate port.
Yep.
This one, so this is 5200, this is running on 3300, and that is a completely separate operating thing that I've called second agent. So if we go and look in here, here's my second agent, and you can see that it started the process of building you a personal, because this is just the socket running in the background, but there's no invite package yet because I don't know anything about the organization yet. So what we're going to do is flip over here, and when I'll show you the scan here. So you can see there's nothing in local storage, there's no databases or anything like that. If we just make this a little bit smaller and do Command R, it's gone, oh, hey, look, there was no personal organization before. So let's create one. And what happened is it zipped up that zip file. And if we go and have a look, you'll see that it actually updates the, where's the DNA folder? Second agent. DNA. Right, here we go. And you'll see here, see it's updated the UUIDs. Where it said organization UUID now, that's now the new UUID that was created for your new organization. We then ran HC DNA pack, which created the DNA files. And then you run HC app pack, and that creates the DNA file, which is way down here. Where is it? Somewhere down here. Oh no, I've moved it. Right, cool. So part of the process is moving that, moves it into here, and then I zipped it all up and made the invite file. So now you have your own running instance of Builder. So we can give you an image because I think I've got one of you somewhere here. Avatars. No, let's just give you a generic one. Right, so now you can now go and add in whatever projects you've got, like garden. You're not that boring, but you know what I mean. Right, so away you go, right? And that's completely separate from anything that I'm doing. As you can see, it hasn't shown up here, and also completely separate to Holochain. So if we go and look in here, you'll see now you've got your own UUID and a different cell, right, to everybody else. So it's completely separate, and you control it.
Yep.
So that's all well and good. But now, I've got this Holochain project that I'm working on, and there's lots of work to do, and I'd really appreciate some help. So what I'd like is for you to be able to help me. So what I'm going to do is we'll go into here, go back to organizations, and the little multi-person icon here, if you press this one and keep an eye on what's happening down here, right? So at the moment, you've got one set of cells. So if we do invite, what you can do now is there's this update, upload an invite package, which wasn't there when you did the edit. So we can go in here and go, where is it? Build, there we go. There's my invite package for Holochain, because you can see it's under Holochain invite package. And when I hit that button there, wow, look at that. See, it installed the Holochain DNA HAP for you, and set up all your cell IDs and your new. So you've got a new agent ID now. So each organization, you have a separate agent ID, and then Deep Key, which is pretty close to being done. I spoke to Arthur this morning. Will now.
Very cool.
Yeah. So now what you'll be able to have is like one root authority that is you, and all these different agent keys across all your different apps, but we'll know who you are. Right, so now that's working. So what should be happening in the background is that I discovered a bug, because that's half of my job. But you can see it's actually trying to talk to the other node. And what's happening is that these two Holochain instances are talking to each other. So we go back to here and click on here. Look at that. So now,
very cool.
Where's the rest of them? If you go to organizations, you'll see you've now got the same set of things that I've got in this one. So this is the original node, and this is the new node. Pretty cool, huh?
Really, really, really cool.
Right, so I just want to show you a quick bit of code that goes with it. So these are the, so there's two new YAML files now. You do one for DNA for an individual DNA. And that tells it where you've put it, what are you going to call it, and you can add, so the properties at the moment, I can put any in here, but you can do things like, say, for this instance of you and I interacting on Holochain, we're not going to put any properties. But if it was a commercial venture, and that sort of thing, you can start adding in all sorts of properties like, what do you want to do per call and all this kind of stuff. We haven't experimented with that yet, but because that's actually built into the hash address of the running instance, you can rely on it and say, well, that's part of the thing, and you can use it in your validation as well. So you can see all the cells that got installed into my production conductor, and what I wanted to show you was where has it gone? Organization store, here we go. So when you join an organization, what it's going to do is it uploads that GZ file, which is what's happening here, and it reads it. When it's finished reading it, it's going to send it back down the socket to join organization. And what that does is that unzips the file locally so that I know that the DNA HAP is there. And then it brings me back the organization JSON file, which I can then use in the UI. And then I dispatch this install DNAs, which is just here. And what that does is, so this is for the default one. And what it does is it'll generate a key, sets that into the local storage. And the reason I'm using local storage is because it's super fast and it's easy to debug, and it works really well. It's good. So then you do this new one called install app bundle. So previously we were doing install app and passing a different set of things, like a list of the DNAs. Now you pass this HAP file, which has got everything built into it. And a new thing, membrane proofs, which I'm not sure how that works yet because that's a new one on me. And then once it's installed, I'm going through, the result comes back with this thing called slots. So each of the, we're going to look at a HAP YAML. You can see it's got a thing called a slot. And what that is that's a DNA that you're putting in the HAP. And then what happens is when it gets installed, it comes back as this list of slots. And each of those slots now has the cell ID, which is down here. So the cell ID comes back as a binary array, which I'm converting into base 64, so it's easy to store as a string. And that's what I get, that's what stores. So then what happens is that each organization has its own UUID, and you can easily switch between them as you're using it. And that's the go for this week.
Okay, amazing. This is so cool as always. There was one question. Could you just remind people what deep key is?
Deep key. Okay, so deep key is a play on words for DPKI, which is distributed public key infrastructure. So rather than having a centralized key management system like SSL and all that kind of thing, we've built a way to have distributed keys. And the idea of that is that you can have a separate public key for each application, which you can throw away if you want, if you don't want to use that app anymore. But what you can do is then you can associate that public key with your, what we call our deep key root authority. And so the deep key root authority is like this umbrella key that has is associated to all your generated keys. And then what it allows you to do is you can have, let's say with this Kanban app. So on my laptop, I've got one public key. If I now go and invite myself to use this app on another laptop, I would have a different public key, which means that any personas and profiles, things associated to that key would not work on the other one, and I'd be like a different person. But what I want is I want to be able to interact with this app as me on multiple devices. So with deep key, what happens is instead of using the agent key, the public key to say, right, it's this person, we're going to use the deep key root authority, it's called, and say, right, this deep key root authority is associated to these three keys. So when Philip is using this app, it's like him as, it's his identity across these multiple different applications. It also means then that we can do cool stuff like if you lose your key, let's say I'm using this app and I drop it in the toilet or something like that, and it's gone. I now need to get back to being that identity. How do I do that? Like with things like Bitcoin and stuff like that, you lose your keys, your stuff, there's no way back, which is why I think it's 24% or something of Bitcoin is non-recoverable because all the keys are lost. So with deep key and the way we've done it, we can say, right, hey, David, I'm back. I've got another device. And can you verify that this is me? So I've got a new agent key, and we're going to have different ways of people being able to say, yeah, that is that person who say they is associated with that new key.
Yep. Okay, super.
Yeah, and that the deep key is going to run as what we call a conductor service. So all the conductors will be running it, so you'll be able to rely on it. So we'll have like this default one that we built, but other organizations can build their own if they want as well.
Awesome. Okay, really cool. Anything else for today? What have we got here? Yeah.
No, I think I'm pretty done for today. That was
yeah.
It was a public holiday, long weekend this weekend in Melbourne, but I just wanted to smash this out so I could show it to you tonight.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you very much. Well, look forward to catching up and seeing what's happening in a couple of weeks. Phenomenal stuff.
Excellent.
All right. Super. Thanks so much, Phil.
No worries.
Thanks everyone for watching. Yeah, here we go. From Trevor Johnson, 𝗔𝗶𝗁. Oh, are we still on? Yep. Basically like what everyone else in blockchain trying to do, but going in the other direction. Beautiful to see something that has been in the works for such a while come to fruition. VB helped write the 𝗔𝗶𝗁 white paper. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super exciting. Like it's all, everything that we said was going to happen it's all working now.
Yeah. It's phenomenal. Well, thank you for bringing it to life for us as well, step by step over the last little while, and can't wait to see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, cool. Me too.
Awesome.
Right.
See you everyone. Thanks for watching.
Thanks everyone. Cheers.
Okay.